Joining us now, White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain. Ron, it's great to have you on the show. Dr. Sachs was minimizing a bit of what he felt might not have a huge impact down the road, and especially in some areas like climate change. Is there a concern that there will be down the road people, we have already dealt with that, when there really is so much more that needs to be done?
Well, obviously, I have a different view than gloomy Professor Sachs. Look, I think on climate change, what is indisputable is it's the largest investment we've ever made in moving our country to a clean energy economy. We are going to build thousands of solar arrays, thousands of windmills. We're going to give people tax credits and rebates right at the point of purchase to buy energy efficient appliances, energy efficient dishwashers and washing machines and all those kinds of things. We're going to really create 9 million jobs, not just deploying clean energy, but making it here in America. That's going to be transformative. Now, look, it's true. It doesn't get us all the way there. The president's goal is a 50% reduction in emissions. We think this will produce a 40% reduction in emissions. We have more to do. The president didn't put up the mission accomplished banner yesterday at the White House. What he said was that for the first time in decades, we are passing legislation that stands up to the special interests, that beats the climate deniers, that beat the big corporate interests to raise taxes on corporations that pay nothing in taxes, that beat big pharma to give people help with their prescription drug bills, and down the line. And that's a significant accomplishment, not just in and of itself, but because we're showing that leadership at the White House, with support on Capitol Hill, can turn the tide against some of these special interests that's locked up the Congress for so long.
Ron, good morning. The title of the bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, shows that you all understand the core problem in this country right now is just that things cost too much. People have to pay too much money, and you're seeing that in your polling with the president as well. There have been some critics, not just Dr. Sachs, but Republicans who say the way to bring down inflation is certainly not to spend $1 billion and raise taxes on people. How do you answer that criticism that actually, in the end, this doesn't bring inflation down?
Well, again, with all due respect to Professor Sachs, I think we should go ask the senior citizens who are now paying thousands of dollars for their prescription drugs, that if we cap that expense at $2,000, does that help them with inflation? I think they'll tell you that it does. We cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month. That definitely brings down the cost of living. We lower the cost of buying energy efficient appliances. And look, one other way we fight inflation is to bring down the amount of money the federal government borrows. This bill reduces the deficit by $300 billion. Now, no leading expert I know says that it's going to be inflationary to make corporations pay their fair share, do what they haven't done for so long, pay a minimum tax of at least 15%. That's part of the effort to bring down inflation here. And last thing I'll say on this, Willie, is that we are not raising taxes on individuals. We are not raising taxes on middle-class folks. In fact, no one who makes less than $400,000 a year will see their taxes go up a penny under this bill. So by doing tax fairness, by bringing down the deficit, by lowering everyday costs, we help fight inflation. Now, look, that's part of an overall effort to fight inflation that we've launched here. We've seen gas prices fall every single day this summer. That was why last month's inflation report was down. The price of gas continues to fall. That's significant. We're starting to work on bringing down the price of food by creating more competition. So inflation is the biggest problem we face. We are making progress on that problem while also not killing off the economy. We just had last month a jobs report that brought the unemployment rate down to the lowest rate in 50 years. That's a big part of our economic strategy.
So, Ron, let's talk big picture then. Given everything you just said, and you're right about gas prices, you're right about that historically low unemployment rate, you're right that there are more jobs than we can possibly fill in this country right now. And we've detailed, even again this morning, all the legislation, most of it bipartisan, that's moved through just this summer, moved through the Congress in addition to this reconciliation package. With all that in mind, how do you guys behind closed doors explain approval ratings for the president in the 30s and wrong track numbers in the country at 75% or higher, depending on the poll you look at? How do you make sense of that?
Well, look, I think that the American people are hearing about these changes. First of all, we just signed into law the most important bill just yesterday. I think it's going to take a while for people to appreciate that and react to that. I also need to be careful here because I'm standing on the White House lawn, and unlike our predecessors, we take the Hatch Act seriously, not going to engage in election advocacy here on the White House lawn. But I think we are going to see the American people respond to the leadership they're seeing from President Biden. I think we are going to see the American people respond to the leadership they're seeing from Democrats on Capitol Hill. And I think, obviously, we have a measuring stick of that coming in November. And I think you're going to see the American people respond to that.
I want to ask you now, Ron, about Afghanistan. This week marks the one-year anniversary since the withdrawal from that country. Our colleague, NBC News national security correspondent Courtney Kuby, yesterday spoke with the former commander of United States Central Command, retired General Frank McKenzie. He was in charge during that withdrawal a year ago. I want you to listen to what he had to say.
It's a year later. Looking back, what would you have done differently?
Well, I'll tell you, I wish we had begun to bring people out earlier. You always go back and you examine that. Wish we had seen that coming. I wish we had done that different. There's all kinds of things that I would do differently. But I would tell you, I believe that what happened in August of last year occurred when we decided to leave completely in April of that year. And once you make that basic decision, then events took on a certain trajectory. So we were completely consumed by it a year ago. Since then, I've thought about it every day. It's something that I spent a lot of time considering. The lost opportunities, what it meant, the loss of human beings, American and others, that occurred over not only the last part of the evacuation, but also the course of a 20-year war. Those are big things.
So you hear some regret there, Ron, from General McKenzie. We talked to Richard Haas and others this morning who said, looking back with a year of distance now, 2,500 troops hanging on to Bagram Air Base would have made a lot of sense to keep the security of Afghanistan intact. How do you respond to that criticism?
Look, I have great respect to General McKenzie, who commanded our troops with honor and effectiveness and led this evacuation mission. But I have to say, when President Biden took office, he made the decision to end a 20-year war. And we now, in 2022, are in the first year this century where no Americans are going to perish fighting in Afghanistan. The first year this century when American taxpayers are not putting $300 million a day into a government that cut and ran when the fighting began in Afghanistan, when the fighting intensified in Afghanistan last year. So I think the president's decision to say, look, the American people sent their sons and daughters to this country for 20 years and paid with their lives. The American taxpayers invested in this army for 20 years. And it was time for that to end. It was time to bring our people home. It was time to end this war. And by the way, the promise the president made at that time was that we would still keep our eyes on terrorism. And the mission we conducted earlier this month, where we took out the Emir of al-Qaeda in Kabul without a single American boot on the ground, without risk to a single American troop. That's the model of how to fight terrorism, how to keep the American people safe.
So